really want to welcome everyone here. I think this is going to be a very exciting and informative presentation. Thanks so much to our presenter, Kip Rofo, for coming to talk about really significant things in the way that we interact with universities in virtual worlds and VR in general, virtual reality or cyberspace or the metaverse, however you want to look at it. Dr. Stephen Van Hook here presenting for us today, I think has many insights from years in the virtual world experience. So I just want to thank him for being here today for us. I think one other thing that's unique about this speaker, Dr. Van Hook, is also his experience in journalism, really working around the world and also to not only do journalistic work, but also to do intercultural, transnational work, and brings a lot to the table in terms of that perspective. And having that context for virtual worlds is, I think, a really amazing thing to be able to bring to the table for our expert series here today at the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium. So without further ado, I really want to thank you for being here, Kip, and hand it off to you for the presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Mehdi, and thank you for the kind introduction and all your help getting ready for this. I also see Val Librarian Greg out there and Ellie Pinion. Thank you so much. You made this really, really easy for me. I appreciate it. And especially thanks to this consortium. I attended a session with you here some weeks ago, my first one, I'm sorry to say, but I could see that we are really kindred spirits here. I see lots of educators aged 15 or more years here in Second Life, and you are the ones who have kept the possibilities alive while the tech plays out patiently and ever enduring and ever building, and I praise you for that. Here is our topic today. And a little bit about me. I start most meetings these days on virtual education with a preface that I am not selling anything. I'm not advocating any particular platform. I'm not looking for a job. But I am a working adjunct educator with some 25 years at major universities developing courses and new technologies. And I've been an advocate for virtual world learning for the 16 years I've been working on educational builds in Second Life. I do try to keep an eye on the text, by the way. If you have any questions or comments as we go, I try to keep them in the corner of my eye. When I first started in Second Life, as many of you remember back in the early days, it was engaging and enveloping and intoxicating and seductive, and it chewed up way, way too many hours. I'd spend 2 hours just making sure there was paddling room for my turtle in a pond. I still have that pond tucked away in a corner somewhere on my sim. And these days, I'm trying to be more disciplined about it. For many years, I've been giving presentations on virtual world education to university administrators and department heads and program directors and other professors and educators that are curious, and lots of students, domestic and international. Lately, I've been giving live tours in-world for visitors through Zoom. This is a capture right here of my Zoom screen. Zoom, really, it's been a surprisingly useful tool to demonstrate virtual worlds to hesitant visitors. Sometimes we're a little reluctant to come on in. So Second Life looks pretty good in Zoom, actually. There's just a slight lag as it feeds through, but nothing that is too disruptive. And there's no virtual learning curve as I simply ride along through the experience through my avatar's eyes. And this also addresses some of the top concerns that I hear from first-time visitors to a virtual world. And most of the people I'm bringing in, this is their first time. And they say, based on what they've heard and seen and read, that it's scary and it's intimidating and it's too complex, or they just don't want to sign up for a new account just to come visit and check it out. This region, it's the Educari region. It's been specially designed to serve first and likely only timers in World for single session seminars. It's also meant to demonstrate an example of why to come in and teach in virtual worlds. And sometimes why is the hardest question to answer, let alone how. Simplicity is key on this campus. It's set up so first timers can land and walk a little bit and then sit in the auditorium with minimal clicks and no poses or automatic note cards. And it's just meant to minimize the cognitive overload and system freeze that many of us still suffer to this day. I do. I get 3 or more things happening on my screen at once. I go into total shutdown mode. I've also been presenting to educational groups. This one was innovative educators. Earlier this year, their teachers are very curious about the possibilities. And even if they hesitate to jump in. And I've been designing courses as well. Here's some of the universities, my 4 current universities anyway. For more than 20 years, I've been working with these, helping to develop programs and curricula. These are all state and nonprofit universities. I'm currently adjunct faculty at 4 California universities. Any adjuncts in the room, you know what that means. Professors, we used to be the soul of academia, and now the vast majority of us as adjuncts were simply appendages and data points and mixed modality systems. I actually heard us referred to as that way, something close to that. In 2000, I developed the first online course component for my department at UCSB. It was an international program, and I put up a discussion board just to help comfort some homesick international students between class sessions, and it became a regular part of the program to this day. And even as adjuncts, we can still get administrators to listen to our ideas if we can back it up with some practical results. More than half of the classes that I've developed and taught have been online. So the place has been there and limited to that learning platform, whether it's Blackboard or Canvas or Collaborate or Brightspace or whatever. There's a bunch of them out there. They provide a sense of gathering, but they don't provide a sense of place. And that's the key word we're going to be talking about a bit today. It's given me a sense of what works, what administrators are looking for, and what students like, though they are often not the same thing. I'm sorry, Beth. I was working on this presentation up until midnight. I didn't get a chance to put captions in. I really hope Second Life, if it hasn't already, comes up with some vocal captioning system. That shouldn't be too
If
hard.
I can interrupt there just for a second. For those who would like to see this on a stream, if you pull up a Google Meet and turn on captioning, you can get automatic captions right now in Google Meet just by sharing out this screen and letting Google Meet do its work. So for those of you who, I'll go ahead and put that in the text as well so people can have that tip if they're not able to hear. So sorry for the interruption, but please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for mentioning that, Mehdi. That's really where the technology should be. And also, when I use subtitles, I feel sorry because so much of the discussion is just ad-libbed in the moment or responding to some comment in chat. And this is a way to bring them into that as well, these transcriptions. And actually, they're getting very, very good these days, much better than what we see on CNN, for example, which are just awful. Anyway, these are presentations here that I have been making to college administrators and vice president of innovation, university president of a fairly large system, program directors, a CEO of global nonprofit educational programs, professors and students and course designers and educator training programs. These are presentations I've been making as well to virtual world organizations and board members, and I present it specifically on uses of virtual virtual worlds as an educational platform. I don't get into side discussions using it as a virtual world social activity or an entertainment venue. I keep it solely on use as an academic platform. And I'd like to share some of the comments I've been receiving over the years. Some have not especially kind. Some have been outright cruel. I remember a student once who said that this seems like a platform for a bunch of losers who can't succeed in the real world, and they should call it second chance. Boy, that hurt a little bit. But let's try not to take it too personally, not take offense, and listen to what they have to say. There's some legitimate concerns out there. Maybe your own experience. I know we have people that have been working with their own administrators and campuses to bring this about. Maybe your experience has been different than mine, and I'd like to hear about it if so. But here is my take. Including some of the recent reactions when I present on virtual ed, whether one-on-one in a group. These are the kinds of questions I've been getting. Typically, what about the headsets? And boy, is that cold water on the discussion right there. Over the course of all the metaverse hype, people have gotten the impression the only way to engage with virtual world learning is through a spendy 3D headset, which is a message that may have been amplified by Meta, Facebook, Apple, Sony, and all the rest. They definitely got some money riding on this. But I'll tell you, I've been teaching marketing courses since 2000, starting at UCSB, UCLA to this day. I'm still teaching them. And we've seen lots of breakthroughs come and go over those 23 years. 3D theaters, 3D TV, 3D games on the Oculus, a Sansar in 3D. And I'll tell you, I've tried them all. I've bought the headsets and the glasses and the custom TVs and the pricey DVDs. I really want it to work, but none of it has really clicked, has it? Do they even make 3D movies anymore? And now the 3D metaverse is shaking out its offering, and we'll see how that plays out. But in the meantime, we have work to do in our own virtual world with educational practices apart from any particular platforms or dimensions. I'd also like to point out that if you click that little eye on the screen here, you can go ahead and get a PDF of these slides. It has active links if you'd like to check on any of these resources. I've got a number of resources and research articles I'm going to be sharing with you. It might be useful to you. You're welcome to access it. I have been saying for some time, actually, that I think it's a mistake to conflate and compound what we are doing in virtual world learning with the metaverse. And if you have a stake in the 3D educational metaverse, I'm sorry for some bad news here, that in the short term, it's just not looking very good. Already the metaverse is tumbling in the hype cycle, and the stories are coming out what colleges should be prepared to do next. Once this initial 3D novelty and the headsets age, early participants are already wondering if it was a smart investment. These headsets aren't cheap, and already by the time a university has had the headsets delivered, there's already going to be a newer version coming out, so they're going to look old and heavy. One innovation consultant to a number of universities, he told me that administrators and presidents are speaking of their new twin campuses in the metaverse in glittering terms on the record, but then they'll privately tell them about their regrets and what all they might have bought for their hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here is a sampling of some of the media reports that have helped deflate the metaverse hype. You can get a copy of these slides again. Just click on that little eye there on the screen. It'll give you the PDF files, and all of these links are active and should be working. I've checked them out. Some of them are behind a paywall, but there's not much I can do about that. And once the initial funding is drying up, what the universities are finding is they may be at a loss for additional funding to keep it going, especially as their attention turns to other pressing issues such as declining revenues and artificial intelligence. That's certainly on everybody's agenda, top of their agenda these days. An administrator, he's linked in this story. You can find the link there on the slide. He says multiverse technology, this technology is inevitable. Everybody's going to have to adjust to it, but it still has a long way to go. He says maybe another 20 or 40 years before the technology and the universality and the affordability is widespread enough. Interesting article to read. We've seen many commercial operations out there. Well, here is an example, actually. Here is one of the campuses I teach for. Actually, I've lost track of my slides here. That's what I was looking for, was the innovators out there. You've seen them, Victory XR. It's been widely promoting its virtual reality platform and its catalog of courses. They got a $2 million grant from Meta, Facebook, to promote educational use, and they've certainly been doing that. Axon Park has created a twin campus, they call it, for National University. I also teach there. We'll be talking about that in a moment, what became of that. I figure that all of this is really, it's a vote of confidence in the concept, isn't it? Virtual world learning. So if just the fact that so many people are trying to make money off of it means there must be something of value here. There's a few links for you to check out if you want to. I'm not endorsing or promoting any of these metaverse builders. It's just a chance if you'd like to take a closer look at what they do. I'm coming at this from the perspective of a teacher rather than an entrepreneur or an administrator. Entrepreneurs, well, they keep a focus on making money, and that's good, as well as academic administrators. They're very focused on making their budgets, which is essential. If we don't have budgets and revenue, everything falls apart. But, teachers, and I know we have a number of teachers in this room who can verify this, we're often more focused on making a difference than making money. And if teachers were so concerned about money, we certainly wouldn't be teachers. And I can tell you this, almost everything I've done in virtual world development has been paid for out of my own pocket. I don't know why teachers do that. That's just the way we are, isn't it? It's really not very smart or practical. Here are some sample builds. UCLA went ahead and built a twin campus in Minecraft. Hasn't done much with it since. Everybody thought it was pretty cool at the time. And then, of course, we saw the same thing in Second Life, didn't we? These universities came in and built their twin campuses and then promptly turned into ghost towns. Interestingly, this build was paid for with Bruin gaming funds. Teaching, the only profession where you steal office supplies from home to use at work. Doesn't that really sum it up? Professor Graceful. What a great name. Here is another example here. National University recently unveiled a $200,000 grant-funded metaverse, built a twin campus to support its nursing program. And then they received as well another $75,000 to purchase 70 headsets. What's that come out to? About $1,000 a headset with its software programming. And the university president of National University knowingly says, well, there's a long way to go before this technology is effectively practical and affordable. And we're going to see some of his concerns coming up here in a bit. I've got some good quotes from him. Then we have virtual world founder Philip Rosedale. Some of you may know that name. Second Life and Sansar. He was the man. And he's shared some insights into the metaverse that have resonated, at least with this educator's perspective. And he says that we need to be wary very wary of the privacy and targeting issues if the metaverse is primarily designed by commercial interests, as it is right now, and all the surveillance data gathered in spaces where we don't even know how the advertising is cloaked. And Rosedale says we shouldn't even go a little way down that road. He also says that the virtual reality headsets for this full 3D immersion, he says they're not quite ready for prime time play yet. They say they feel like, he says, more like a blindfold to the real world. And I agree. That's how I feel when I'm wearing it. I feel like I'm wearing a blindfold to everything going on around me. I feel like the headsets can be alienating and isolating from our real life surroundings, and not everyone is going to want to do that. I long ago set aside my 3D television, glasses, and custom DVDs. After we quickly tired of them, my guests would say, please, can we just watch a normal movie? While it's interesting, it just gets to be too much after a while. And while we still need to answer why these particular platforms serve the experience and good of our guests, we've got to get to the why of it, says Rosedale. Why are we doing this? And I think this is where educators who have been doing it may have some worthwhile suggestions. Rosedale also said the costs of highly interactive virtual design are not going to come cheap. The kind of design that's going to attract people, especially gamers that have a higher expectation. Rosedale pointed out the budget for Grand Theft Auto 5, the video game, was some $400 million. And that effective customized virtual learning experiences are going to be perhaps just as costly. So what should we doing? What should we be doing right now? And a group of people hanging around a stage, listening to a presenter and sharing ideas. This is what's going to carry the day, says Rosedale. This kind of activity, sharing knowledge with one another, yet with a feeling of place, being able to look at one another, send notes to one another, just like in a classroom. This is where we're really going to see the payoff in these virtual world environments. Here he is, Mark Milleron. He is just 1 year a new president at National University. In full disclosure, I've been teaching there for more than a decade, but it's been really interesting to see what he is doing. He has a big background in innovation for universities. National University is huge. They have 100,000 students and thousands of educators. It's worth taking a look at what they've been doing there, the innovations of it. But as he says, there is some real potential here, but it is only that at this point, potential. He's worried about the costs of gear that may further divide learners into haves and have-nots, something we really want to be wary of. And he also warned against this inclination of chasing cutting-edge technology for its own sake, as especially very anxious universities are looking not to be left behind. So here they are investing early in technology. But he says that it's the educators that need to be able to determine what innovations are going to work based on facts, not based on who can tell the best story. And I'll tell you, I've heard their pitches. These guys in the metaverse, they can really tell a good story. But these days, administrators, really, they're not looking to talk about universe or virtual world learning right now. They're all talking about artificial intelligence. You've seen report after report and concern after concern. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I do want to share just 3 quick impressions as an educator involved with technologies. First impression is in admissions, that we hear the admissions officers wringing their hands and tugging at their hair that students are going to be using AI for applications. And how are we going to distinguish their actual skills? And yet, a recent report says that by 2024, 80% of admissions offices are going to be using AI to review student applications rather than using human eyes. It's inevitable, they say. We can see where this is heading. It's going to be AI speaking to AI. And also, as educators are scrambling to catch AI cheating, how are we going to do that? Well, I see some teachers are already using it to design courses and grade papers. One teacher was telling how with just three pictures and three prompts to an AI platform that she was able to generate a valid lecture with slides and a reading list and discussion topics and an exam. And I don't know if that was a warning or if it was just bragging. But you can see where this is going already. And already in the workforce, the demand for AI jobs and workers is forcing college curricula to apply. If an applicant was actually able to cheat their way through college with AI, that may actually be a good interview talking point, how effective they were. But I will say that I think that we need to keep our human communication skills sharp rather than rely on AI. A good case example is after the Industrial Revolution, handmade actually became a selling point instead of machine made. Handmade clothing and hand packed milkshakes are actually a selling point, the human touch. So maybe someday we'll pay extra for human brain made content, providing our brains are still working. So go ahead, keep your skills sharp. Most importantly, as far as administrators are concerned, is what we should be concerned with is what are students looking for? What do they want? Well, here are some recent survey results published in the Chronicle of Higher Education on what students are looking for in this post-pandemic era. Even demanding students and the ones that require the highest level of education, they are also demanding online options. 90% of students want to be able to submit their work online, if nothing else. And nearly 70% said they wanted recorded online lectures and online exams. Boy, has this changed in just 3 years as we got used to it. More than 80% of the students say they want some kind of interaction in settings where they can connect with other classmates. So even while they're online, they still want to be able to interact well. And this is where we come in. They want to gather for small lab sessions and group work and symposia, chances to meet their peers and collaborate, maybe even party a little bit. And that's never really changed in generations of students, has it? They want to be able to mingle and network with one another. And these are definitely some of the wants we should address as virtual world educators that we're especially able to meet. Here is a recent article on what students want from virtual learning applications. Again, that is a hyperlink there. It's an active hyperlink if you want to download the PDF file. This is a good article to take a look at. Chronicle of Higher Education, they are behind a paywall, but I think you can access a certain number of articles for free. Rather than remote learning and Zoom closing down the world, actually what they found in some ways, it was opening the world up. People were easily gathering regardless of the place. It was affordable. In fact, it was even saving some revenue for poor students on transportation and babysitting costs. But what they still want is they want a sense of presence and they want reactions. As they're in a room live together. And this is where administrators really start to listen, what the students are craving here and how they can meet that demand, especially when they hear that it only costs $100 a month for nonprofit educational use in a virtual world. Thank you, Linden Labs, for that. Rather than the hundreds of thousands of dollars for a 3D metaverse experience. Yeah, there is quite a bit of initial work setting the region up, the campus up. But there's always a few of us out there willing to put in hundreds of hours for nothing. I've certainly done it. And then once the place is built, well, then the maintenance on it isn't quite so intensive and expensive. That's another selling point for us. And so while colleges are trying to figure out what to do, what are the administrators thinking right now? Well, I can tell you that. I deal with administrators almost every day. And 40% right now in a survey by the Chronicle of Higher Education, 40% of administrators are prioritizing, top priority, demand for online learning, trying to find a satisfying way to make it work, especially serving the older students now. Increasingly percentage of enrollees who are demanding more flexibility. Administrators say they are hoping to find their balance sometime around 2025. That's not too much farther down the road, trying to find a balance between in-person and virtual courses and online situations that provide students with a sense of belonging. So this is the time for us to shine and invite them to look closer at virtual world learning options. And here are a few suggestions to those educators designing virtual world technology as we get ready for showtime. We got a number of you right here listening. First, it's time to polish everything up. And get ready for closer scrutiny. They are looking at us harder than ever. Online learning is only going to grow now that we've seen how well it can work. The virtual education platforms and programs, and I'm not advocating any platform. I had an interesting talk with Ellie who confirms, we're not talking about any specific platform. What we're looking for is just the best practices that work in virtual worlds, whatever the platform is, whatever the dimensions we are working in. And that's certainly what we need to do now. We need to better understand the demands of academia, the limited funds available, the overhead demands on students to learn new skills. There's a bit of a learning curve, that with virtual worlds. And then there's the Title IX horrors over privacy and harassment in virtual worlds. That's easily addressed. When I have an event on my campus, I simply close it down. The only people that can come in are the registered attendees. It's not that hard to do effective security. And then I have somebody on standby as well to do a quick ejection. But safety and security is definitely high on the list of administrators. And then also there's performance standards, accreditation standards that universities need to cover. So they're very sensitive to that as well, the quality of the coursework in these settings. I've been pitching virtual world learning to administrators now for 15 years. And this is what they typically reply. I'm sure you've heard it too. There's too much development time and cost in these worlds. There's too high of a learning curve for teachers and students. And that's somewhat true. We need to simplify that. And there's just too little practical use being offered. So that's another thing we need to address. Well, we need the accessibility of Skype, where a single step gets you where you need to be. We need the creative and simple filters of TikTok for design. We need the functionality of Zoom, where slides and video and audio and files are easily shared with a simple click. And some of that is already happening, but we need much more of it. And what we need to do, those of us that are here, I don't think we need to educate others as much as we simply need to demonstrate, hey, this is what we do. We need to make it obvious that we're offering something of value here. And that's why I enjoy bringing them in through these live Zoom sessions. What's been happening really in academia over the recent years? I know we have some educators here long term. I see Dodge Three Beards out there. Talk about a long time old school educator. Good to see you here, Dodge. What we've really been seeing, it's more of a morphing of academia than a revolution or a redesign. The transformational forces have really been long in play. Lower state funding, a demographic dip in enrollments, and lots of administrators stressing over budget cuts and program reductions. These forces, they've been simmering and expanding for decades now. And now, the blinds on so many of our social systems are being lifted everywhere. We can see clear what's behind the curtain. That is certainly one of the huge contributions of social media. There are no secrets anymore, are there? We need to stress that our primary offering in the virtual world is this interactive immersion that provides a sense of place, which is one of the most memorable aspects of an education and one that the students are really yearning for. Years after our education, it's the imagery, the sense, the taste of experience that we remember, isn't it? And when I think back on memories of academia that have occurred on campus or in the virtual world, sometimes I'm not really clear which was where. That's how authentic these experiences can be. I think one of the primary reasons that virtual worlds have proven so attractive to educators and their students is our desire for company in learning. We want to look at each other. We want to see facial expressions and gestures, even as we're alone at our desk. And it's not just our desire for a sense of other, but it's also our desire for a sense of place. And there is so much to show off in our virtual worlds, what we have done and what we are still doing now, going on for 2 decades. Case in point, this Science Circle presentations, I've done a number of those over the years. This is a true testament to what virtual worlds can do consistently with clear vision and good intent and an impressive immersive experience. I'm presenting there tomorrow, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning at Science Circle on a talk called Hope on the Horizon. What technologies, what social innovations are actually looking hopeful in the midst of all our despair? What else do we have to share? This is some of what I share in my presentations to administrators. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, some of the benefits of virtual world learning, but nonetheless, when I talk about the response, the reactions that I get, this is what they're reacting to. Here is one example. Studies show when people have an immersion into someone else's experience, that it creates empathic response, experiencing what it's like to maybe switch genders or races, or to experience life in a war zone or a wheelchair. And this might be used, for example, in human resources sensitivity training, where they literally get to walk in another's skin. And such visualizations and imaginings and projections, well, they can be more than simply educational. They can be formational and foundational. And it's a very low stakes experiment with modeling behavior. This article here, again, it's hyperlinked if you download the slides. It's on the power of cosplay and the power of pretend. And it tells how heroic stories and pretend experiences can create an emotional response of elevation. There's a link here if you want to dig deeper into that. For example, in a virtual reality study, those who were given the power of flight felt like a superhero, and afterwards they were more significantly likely to be helpful to others than those who simply got to fly around as a passenger in a helicopter. There's a sense of agency, and they got to feel a little of how a superhero feels in flight. That's what elevation is about, and that's another example of what we can do so effectively in virtual worlds. We've also known for a long time the powers of visualization, envisioning others doing something before they actually do it. Olympic athletes use it to pre-vision their performance with demonstrable results. Scientific American reports here, there's a link there to the article, on how visualization directly activates the motor cortex, just thinking about something, and how this can actually benefit, for example, patients recovering from a stroke, or dancers developing their art. Exercising the motor cortex with visualization becomes even more important as we get older. The article says we got to keep our minds active, use it or lose it. With virtual worlds, we're taking visualization to a much higher level, aren't we? With a psychological projection into an avatar that can feel about as real as actually being there, as users report in this article. And as we all know, it feels real when we're here. Here are two interesting articles from a recent edition of Inside Higher Education. That is a free access for you. And it says, it tells how cuts in international travel have impacted educational exchanges between young creative students around the world. Oh, that's such a loss, isn't it? And organizers are trying out different online platforms to increase and improve international collaboration for students. Boy, isn't this a wonderful platform for that? Students from all over the world, all time zones. Also, virtual job recruiting programs are reaching out to populations of historically marginalized college graduates. So they're looking at technological alternatives that might help us do that better, especially inexpensive, free alternatives in some of the virtual world platforms, such as this. Here's something we can do. This is a very easy fix. Please, please, if there are any Lindens out there in the room, I beg of you, I'm looking to see if anybody has a Linden tag on, or if you have the ear of a Linden, please. Here's a simple request that may help with our outreach into academia. Please modify the marketplace landing page. Please, please. It's so embarrassing when I make referrals to this with administrators or professors or students, that here is a marketplace for purchasing clothes and such. And then they come to a landing page, and one professor commented that it looks like a porn site. And I'm not opposed to genitalia by any means, but really, if they could just be posted on some other page, I'd be good. I've actually seen pictures on the landing page. So Linden Labs, please, I realize that your primary audience may be interested in this stuff, but it's the secondary and tertiary audiences, education perhaps being at the bottom, but nonetheless, if we want to pull educators in, we have to make it attractive and appealing. And please help with this one simple tweak. It could be simple as, the landing pages. What are you here for today? Play, work, or education? And then if they click play, go ahead and open this up. Boy, I'm seeing a lot of agreements and nods in agreement. Linden, please help with this one simple tweak. I know I'm coming up on the end of our time here. I want to leave a little time just to look over some of the comments that you've made, see if there's any questions we might address. Here is some access detail for our Educari campus. We do pronounce it Educari. It's from the Latin. It means actually to lead out. There's actually some debate on what it really means, but it means to connect with students where they are and bring them somewhere else. Educari. And there's a free access primer on the slide. If you click that, it's for first timers, how to sign up for Second Life, how to pick an avatar, and then they can teleport straight to our island for a stress-free orientation. You can see our orientation dome there on the top picture in the right corner there. Some of the cheapest, easiest to produce, and most effective and enticing events in virtual worlds are seminars, just like this, where students can check out profiles and chat and socialize, and professionals and colleagues and academies, we can check out each other's profile and make connections where it's appropriate. I've presented in different virtual world platforms and settings for some 15 years on topics including virtual world teaching tactics and transcultural course design and global trends in access and technology, and all presented in this virtual world platform with slides and exhibits and support materials and resources. There's a roster of topic abstracts that I've presented in World and through Zoom listed on this slide. Maybe that'll give you some ideas for your own presentations as well. Again, sometimes when I'm remembering a past presentation, I can't remember whether I did it in Zoom or in a classroom or here in Second Life. The experience is really that rich. And what I'd like to ask you to do in our few remaining moments before I shut up here is to pay just a quick visit to the Educari campus. Keep in mind that this is meant to serve first-timers with simple navigation and interaction, but yet I've tried to keep it interesting and cutting edge with some of the design work that I've done on it. This may be the only impression that curious administrators and educators get as I try to entice them in World or showing all this good stuff through a Zoom session. So I would be very grateful as you, with your experience, your know-how, your insights, your experience with reluctant students, teachers, administrators on how to make this as appealing as possible. So if you could just give it a quick visit, note any glitches you may find, or suggest any improvements that might make the experience smoother or more enlightening for visitors, anything that trips you up and seems awkward. If you could put yourself in the mindset of a first-time visitor to a virtual world, that would help. Ambience is important to engage students. You're absolutely right about that. The ambience, the resonance of the room. Thank you, Shiloh. What we see here, that orientation dome, especially if you could take a look at that, the landing site is right outside that orientation dome. It gives a private and safe and efficient self-guided orientation in a teacher-oriented setting. It has basic skills such as how to chat, how to Zoom, how to change your avatar, how to make friends, resources for teaching in virtual worlds. If I hadn't added your group yet, I certainly will. And how to make friends is so important, and how to look at people's profiles, little things like that make such a difference in the experience. So if you could walk through, there's little stations where the first timers can practice a little bit if they want to. The auditorium, you can see that in the background, and you can see the seating, the interior seating. That's where the main action happens, and it's the primary purpose of our campus to hold educational seminars and demonstrations. The auditorium, it's designed to seat 100, though I think 50 is about max. And there's some mannequins, if you do pay it a visit, there's some mannequins sitting there just to demonstrate avatars in the room so it doesn't look empty. Don't let them throw you. There's also some educational resources and, of course, some rides that you can check out too. There's signs all around, tickets to ride. Just click one of those and it'll give you this nice little card here. There's a media moon with videos and podcasts on science and international education tactics. There's also some read-along books with audio for English lessons and sit and play videos on self-improvement. Please check those out. And as you wander around, you can also play our Educari radio station. There's more than 1,000 of my favorite songs from all around the world. It's commercial free, and you're welcome to stream it in your own regions if you need a reliable music source. And also you can see there is, you grab yourself a nice refreshing watermelon drink at the beachside bar. Maybe ride the submarine, take a look at our undersea world here. Oh boy, I spent hours and hours building this tunnel. It's a video music tunnel. You can ride through it. It runs the entire length of the region. You can take a submarine or you can just swim through it and experience some happy yellow submarine vibes, ambience. And I really invite you, I beg you, please, I implore you, please do take a look and share any of your suggestions with me. You get blind to this after a while, don't you? Hours, hours, hours looking, working on the same thing. After a while, you just get blind to the most glaring of problems. So I would really appreciate it if you would do that. Even if even today while you're online, while it's fresh in your mind, just do a quick click over. Just do a quick flight around the island, just a couple of minutes to get a sense of what it looks like. Don't forget to dip beneath the water. There's quite a bit going on there. I am a sea captain. I especially enjoy ocean scenes and work. That is it. I really want to thank you so much for coming out today. I hope you enjoyed this romp. There is a link on this slide to my research website, primarily with transcultural education learnings. You can also find a PDF of the slides on this presentation and a primer for free access to our virtual world campus. And there, I've already posted the slides for my tomorrow's presentation tomorrow morning at the Science Circle on Hope on the Horizon. You might take a look at that. Some interesting developments in technology and social affairs that make us hopeful. And with that, I am done. Please post that extra link. What link are you referring there? Here is the primer. Let me post this for you. This is a link to the primer, how to access for first timers, how to access Second Life, what they're going to go through as they sign up, and then quickly gives them the option to teleport to a very quiet and safe destination. If that is, oh, for tomorrow's presentation. Sure, I've already posted that. Let me see if I can bring up my browser real quick. Hope on the Horizon, October 28th. There it is. I'm going to grab it real quick. I promise. These things always go much faster than when you really want to do it. Copy link address and put it into chat. This should work just fine if I just clicked on somebody accidentally. I'm sorry. There you go. There's the slides from tomorrow. You're certainly welcome to attend. I recognize a number of the names here from Science Circle activities as well. Which, by the way, is something I need to get ready. Up through midnight is my deadline for preparing slides for tomorrow morning. So I'm going to jump into that fairly quickly. I'm going to go ahead and hang out here, see if there's any questions. I see somebody's battery is about to go. Thank you so much. Yeah, there is a sign right there to the stage right of my screen, which has note cards. Including a link to our watermelon bar. I'm especially happy with that. It's just a nice, mellow place to hang out with good vibes and ambience. So feel free to do that. And with that, I am going to thank you once again for sharing some of your day with me. I know it doesn't come easy. And I will turn the microphone back to Maddie. Thank you all so much.
Hey, thank you so much, Kip. It's amazing presentation, and I think provides for us a real important context to the trends of what's happening in the larger metaverse of spaces in virtual worlds and VR and things like that. Yeah, truly wonderful to have you here. Thanks so much. We will take a few minutes here in just a sec to go over to the happy hour after this, right behind the audience. There's a place to gather where we can take some quick questions. I know your time is tight today. One other thing I do want to mention before we move over there is that we have the VWEC Expert Series panel coming up for innovative builds that support students and learning. We've got several presenters coming up there. And hope to have you again here on Friday, November 10th at 1 p.m. So we'll look forward to that event. You can read about that at the placard on the right, just to get a sense and have something to mark on your calendar. But let's hurry up over to the area for some treats and drinks as we take initial questions. And I think also if you have opportunity to get over to the um, landing spots where Kip has been building. I was just there myself this morning, and amazing to see some great builds. I really love the way it's mixing a first time in world space to catch people and make sure that they feel comfortable. And then if you turn around immediately, you're jumping into resources and engagement and spaces where interactivity can take place as well. Another thing I thought was great about your build was the way that you have this core sense of community and event in the center, and then there's all these activity spaces surrounding. I think this is an exemplar for virtual world design that deals both with the underlying infrastructure as well as the great things we're trying to achieve sociologically, educationally, and things like that. So once again, thank you so much, Kip. Let's see if we can mosey on over to the um, happy hour location just behind the audience. Thanks.